All right, here we go. Sports Bit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy, Monday, June 18th at SBR Picks. I'm at Real Sports Bit. He's at Teddy _covers. We didn't go live today. We taped this. Technical issues. Don't worry about it. We'll get to the Cubs and the Dodgers coming up in an epic story with Teddy, WSOP. Please take the sunglasses off when you're at the table. Only two types of people wear sunglasses inside, blind people and assholes. Right, Larry David? Excellent line, Teddy. I saw you on Twitter as well. So he's got a great story to share, shot clock, and play of the day before we get out of here. U.S. Open. Koepka does it again. 25-1 before the tournament, 80-1 after day one. Most people blew up, especially that played late on Saturday. Andy North, ESPN, was terrific. For the third time, they lost control of the course at Shinnecock, unacceptable by the USGA. And Dustin Johnson had a 4-shot lead going to the weekend. He spits it up, did finish top 5. You have the Mickelson story we'll get to in a second. But a nice cash, Teddy, 25-1 for Koepka. He wins, and it was an interest. How about Fleetwood with the 63 on Sunday? It was a fantastic tournament for in-play wagering and adjusted odds standpoint as well. But Koepka goes back-to-back years with the U.S. Open.
And Koepka, after Thursday, was 80-1. So forget the 25-1. If you were betting day to day, you had an opportunity to cash a nice long shot score with a guy who won this tournament last year twice in a row, back-to-back jacks. Let's give him kudos for that. 25-1 cashes. And of course, the DJ blowing up, Mickelson blowing up. It's fun for us when the stars have meltdowns in golf. Why is that, Pauly? It's different from golf than other sports. In other sports, we get mad when they have meltdowns. In golf, it's kind of fun.
I don't know how this became the crime of the century. I don't have a problem with this. I know I don't like Mickelson to begin with. What he did to Billy Walters was a disgrace. His so-called friend and how he skated with the SEC with the insider trading. Just give the money back, please. But I don't understand why this. I thought he had a good line about if you're offended by what he did on Saturday, suck it up, toughen up, whatever. To hit a moving ball. But some people wanted him DQ'd, and you saw the outrage. He's a great guy. This is Twitter. He's either a great guy, leave him alone, whatever, or he should be DQ'd and he disgraced the sport, whatever. It was fascinating how Twitter exploded on Saturday, and Joe Buck lost his mind again. Also, the same guy who was bothered by the Randy Moss pretend moon in a playoff game. So, yeah, you're right. Tiger missed the cut. Day missed the cut. Spieth missed the cut. Saturday, again, what they did to that golf course was a disgrace. You were not – forget about being – rewarded for hitting good shots. You were penalized for hitting good shots. The Piercy putt on 15 where he taps it and it rolls off the green, a joke. And you saw the double bogeys. They set a record with what happened. Double bogeys are worse over the weekend. And Koepka, what was he, 1 over to win it? Last year he was 16 under at Erin Hills in Wisconsin. What a difference a year makes as he wins. So there it is. Bad for the books, bad beats, bad bets. Here we go. A couple bad beats. A moose. Let's call it a moose in Arizona. Diamondbacks, $1.25. They led 3-1 in the top of the ninth. 2 outs, nobody on. They blew it. It starts with a bunt single. Mets score 4. They win 5-3. That's a horrible beat. And the Rockies, $1.20. They led 12-9 in the bottom of the ninth. 4 spot by the Rangers. They win 13-12. Wade Davis walked 4 guys and got 1 guy out.
Yeah, I mean, the incredible thing about the 4 spot wasn't that it was a 4 spot. It was a 4 spot with 4 walks in the mix, and that's not what you want off your closer, your high-priced closer. The Mets beat probably worse because Colorado, Texas, I mean, that ball was flying all day yesterday. It was flying all series in that series. But the Mets coming back from any deficit with that lineup, it's few and far between. So tough beat either way. Arizona, yeah, brutal. Rockies, yeah, brutal. Welcome to baseball season. It's June, my friends. My apologies, my condolences if you had either one of those tough losers.
Yep, bad bets. A couple, the Padres plus 140 down to even. They lost at Atlanta. And here come the unders, Teddy. With what happened earlier this morning, unders are 6-0-1 in the last 7 matches. There have been 6 1-0 matches already so far in the World Cup.
And the incredible thing is, I've talked to multiple sharp guys talking about how conditions are very favorable for overs in this World Cup with the rule changes that allow for more penalty kicks.
Yeah.
And, penalty kicks worth a significant percentage of a goal every time we see one, with the added time being more accurately and properly kept. So the added time at the end of the half and at the end of the game is longer than it's been when the defenses are at their most tired. So in theory, there's supposed to be these edges, these modest edges, but quarter of a goal, a tenth of a goal, a half of a goal. Boy, they add up big when you put them together. My buddy was saying about 0.3 to 0.4 of a goal that the market is mispriced off the overs, and yet 6 1-0 matches and the unders continue to cash so far in the World Cup.
Public betting overs in soccer, incredible. Bookmakers saying the public loves to bet overs. That's horrible with the 6-0-1 run and the 1-0 matches. Also, the three-way betting. No one bets the draws either. And you saw some huge prices already. This has been a fantastic start. The Argentina draw was as high as 470. The draw yesterday with Brazil was plus 370. The Portugal-Spain draw was plus 230. And then you had Mexico. Bad for the books, you bet. William Hill, I know I talked to their director of trading. They took a ton of money, as they always do on Mexico. 6-1 to beat defending champs Germany. Germany has Sweden coming up Saturday. They lose that, they're going home as they get beat 1-0. As Mexico, a big win, and bad for the books, a 6-1.
Yeah, and really, when you start to think about the global differences and how the money moves from one market to another, here we are in Las Vegas. There's not a natural flow of Germany money here. There's a much more natural flow of money from Mexico. You think about the books in Europe, probably a very different story in that regard. How the bettors can take advantage of the opportunities from one book to another, from one market to another, is going to be a very interesting story about, hey, how the betting goes in New Jersey and how the betting goes in Delaware and how the offshore markets. We think of this global marketplace as there's one line. There might be a lot more regional differences moving forward that savvy bettors with a lot of connections may be able to take advantage of.
All right, well, we get some good trends and some great numbers, not trends, but some great streaks in Major League Baseball we'll get to on tomorrow's show. And as Teddy always talks about, you put on Sports Center, they'll tell you about the 11-game winning streak with the Astros. They won't tell you about these streaks where they, we'll do more of this tomorrow, but the Yankees have played 12 straight unders. So we'll get to that, and there's 3 teams on some sick underruns we'll get to coming up. Big game breakdown. Thanks to Intertop Sportsbook, 22 years online, sign up, deposit, and win. Dodgers and Cubbies, Maeda against Chatwood. Maeda near the bottom in ROI, down almost 7 units. Dodgers are road favorites. They survived. They played horrible ball. They were 16-26 at one point. They're only a game and a half back of the Diamondbacks. 8.5 the total. Chatwood for the Cubbies. So big 3-game set. They've won 7 out of 10. Won the series against the Giants. Did lose yesterday where they couldn't get much going offensively, but they turned it around. They're hanging in there, and they are the favorites now to win the NL West.
As they should be. I mean, a very rough start for LA, but the key to them was that nobody else pulled away in that division. The Giants played mediocre baseball. Arizona got off to that hot start and then went ice cold. Colorado hasn't played particularly well. San Diego's been the toughest competition in terms of hot teams in that division in recent weeks. So the Dodgers able to survive that slow start without really getting slapped around. And now in position, obviously, to make some noise in a division that they've won. What are they, 5 straight years? They've been in the playoffs. I don't remember if they won the division every year. I don't think they have. But it's all been, I shouldn't say it's all been offense, but it's largely been about the lineup. Prior to last night, 7.15 runs per game in the month of June. That's impressive. An MLB best 34 home runs in the first 13 games. They won 7 of their last 10, even after last night's loss. And we're talking about a team that, yeah, homer happy, but it's not just homer happy. They've been hitting the baseball effectively. Yesterday, they were really shut down. Dave Roberts after the game. I don't think we were overswinging. I don't think we're sitting back and just trying to slug. We're trying to take good swings. And today the balls didn't go out of the ballpark. But when you look at this Dodgers lineup and you see the form that they're in, it's not hard to make a case for LA to score some runs against Tyler Chatwood, who's been very, very, very rough so far this season because he can't throw strikes, Pauly. This guy can't throw
3
strikes.
3-5 with a 4.12. He hasn't won a game since May 11th. Last time out against Milwaukee, 4 runs in 5 innings. Also check the status of Baez, who left Sunday night's game after he was hit by a pitch. But Madden, same thing with the Dodgers, right? Madden said no big deal. We went on the road, took 2 out of 3, so we didn't sweep them okay. So they're back after the Sunday night game as well, the rematch of the NLCS. But Chatwood, you're right with the control problems where he can't locate, and that's been a problem. It's just, how about that? What, they give him like a $40 million contract in the offseason, Teddy? Look at that. The Cubs are right there at the top of the division, and Darvish is on the disabled list. He's been horrible. And Chatwood's gave him all that money. He's been below average. Guys like Montgomery holding it down in the offense. And remember, before he won this past weekend, Hendricks was #1 with worst ROI.
Yeah, and we look at it, we think about the Cubs, and how did they win the World Series 2 years ago and not win last year? Pitching, and particularly starting pitching. Wasn't anywhere as good last year. So what they do in the offseason? Let's fix the starting pitching problem. Threw a bunch of money at it. Hasn't worked particularly well. Now, what's most interesting to me, there's lots of interesting things, but what's interesting to me is the Madden comments when he's talking about Tyler Chatwood. Okay, over and over again, I've been reading the same type of comments from Madden. Oh, he'll be fine. He's just working it out. Wow, his stuff is nasty. He's almost there. He showed real improvement. And every time, Chatwood comes out the next time and walks another 4 batters and gets into trouble and has a ridiculous pitch count, et cetera, et cetera. I think Madden is trying to get in his head a little bit. I think Chatwood's lost his confidence, and Madden's trying to boost him back up. And the comments aren't for anyone other than Tyler Chatwood. Say, hey, your manager's got your back. That being said, he's not a pitcher I want any part of right now. Now, Kenta Maeda's got his issues too. Maeda had pitched brilliant before hurting his hip. Then he came back. He only threw 76 pitches. He was hittable in that game against Texas. And again, now he's working his second start back off the DL. But, if you're saying which of these 2 starters do I trust more, the starter on the LA side by a fairly wide margin. Tyler Chatwood, not a pitcher I have any interest in putting my money on unless I'm betting the game over the total.
Very good. Cubs a half game back in the Central. All right, we'll do the Vikings tomorrow. We'll continue with our NFC North previews. We can close it out with the Vikings and the Packers, and I'm high on the Vikings. We'll get to them tomorrow. Now, you had a wild weekend, and you're Johnny Chan up there with the glasses on. But so you cashed in the senior. You talked about it Friday in the senior event, and then your buddy made a run as well. So take us through this. First of all, what you did, and the fact that you had a piece of your friend, and he made a deep run in the seniors event.
Yeah, it was a hell of a weekend. And honestly, I apologize for not having the Vikings done. This is a sports show, and I'm supposed to have it ready on Monday morning, but we went out and partied last night. It was a fun night, and we're human. That's people don't recognize sometimes. Oh, you're a public figure. You're a sports bettor. Guess what? If I just had a fight with my wife, I might not have a great day that day. If I went out partying and had a crazy weekend at WSOP, I might not be fully focused on the show. People do have lives, is what I'm saying. And this weekend was one of the fun weekends of a lifetime. So, senior event, $1,000 buy-in. You have to be 50 or over. I just turned 50 this last year. All right, let's do it. Me and a buddy that I've known, really one of my best friends, and not my best friend from Michigan, from back in the day, lives in Chicago, and he, flies out. We've played other World Series events over the years. He's had a couple of runs into day 2 or day 3 of various events, but never had any cash. I've never cashed in a World Series event. So this senior event, we got to do it. And I had some buddies who were playing it, who have played it in recent years. They're like, you got to play in this event. It's the best one. It's the best one. It is the best one, Pauly. It is the best event for a bunch of reasons. First, you're playing against seniors. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but the quality of competition is much lower. It's not a little bit lower. It's much lower than you're finding in other tournaments. And it's not just the players and the fatigue level as the day goes on, is significant for the seniors. It's not just that. It's also the way, the style of play. You know how it is in the poker world. You may not if you don't play. But the young guns have dominated. It's a super aggressive style of play. And for a player like me, it's not the best style. It really isn't. I struggle against it. A lot of guys struggle against it. That's why it's the dominant style of play right now. And people are, the best players have adapted an extraordinarily aggressive style. The senior event's not like that, man. It's all right. You play your cards. All right. You play what the table's doing. They're not five betting every hand before the flop, or on the flop. It's a much more readable game. I never had a good stack at all. I never really put a dominant run together where I was able to make a bunch of hands in a row. Paul didn't even come close, but was able to hang on and survive and double up. And it got the key thing in so many poker tournaments. Do they call when you need them to fold, or do they fold when you need them to fold? When you want them to call, do they call, or do they, no, I'm not going to pay you off? And day one, just about every one of those key decisions went in my favor. When I wanted a guy to call, he called. When I wanted a guy to fold, he folded. And there was even the one key hand, and I was all in, and I had an ace-3 and a 3 paired on the board, and a guy showed me his jacks and mucked them. And I stayed alive. Thanks. Hey, thanks for showing. Stayed alive into day two. Day two didn't last long. I went 3 or 4 hours in day two. I didn't make it to the second break. And I didn't, I kind of, it was a situation where it was the opposite, Paul. It was the opposite of guys that I wanted to, when I wanted guys to call, they would fold. And when I wanted guys to fold, they would call. And part of the, a big key, you have to make moves. You have to take uncontested pots. And I made 4 or 5 moves from uncontested pots, and somebody came over the top of me, and I had to let it down. So then you're short stacked. I get all in, ace, king versus jacks, and the jacks held up, and that's the end of my tournament. I cashed out for $2,069. You tip a little bit. My buddy had a percentage of me, so I paid him off, and on to the rail you go. There you are. Hell of a run for Saturday. From Friday into Saturday. But that was only the start of the weekend. That's where it started to get fun. Because then, as you mentioned, my buddy went on a pretty significant run of his own.
So he finished his top 15. You had a piece of him, and he made an epic run. And you're talking about how big this field is. So he makes the deep run. You whack that up. You get a piece there. Where'd you decide to celebrate?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the field was like 5,919 guys. And my buddy goes on.
What
and
a sweat for you.
Yeah, it was great for me. Because, again,
yeah,
once you're out and your buddy's in, you get the easy job. Hey, what do you need to break? You want me to get you a burger? I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to make sure you meet them during the break and get them what they need, because the breaks are really tight. Particularly dinner break. You don't really have time to order food, sit down, eat it, and get back. Especially for smokers, and we're both smokers. So you need to put that factor in that 10 minutes over the course of the dinner break as well. So it's my job to get him food, and I'm not sitting there on the rail. God, I would, no way. But my buddy goes on a run, and you want to talk about yo-yo. My stack size was pretty even, and then it went down, and I would get back to even, and then go down. It wasn't like, but my buddy, he would have a big stack. He'd go down, nothing, micro stack. I mean, all over the map for 3 days. Where he got crushed, ace, king against aces, and then he had kings, and then got beat by aces, and then he had nothing, and then he had deuces, ace, deuce, and then that turned into a 4, quadrupled up with a set. Just insanity, basically, for this guy for 3 full days. Runs pretty good. We're having big dreams of final table. Ends up busting out 14th. And again, a situation where it's he's making a move from the button. Got to make a move, and he made his move, and somebody had a bigger hand. Ace, I think it was ace 8 versus ace king, and bye, go home. But he made 36 dimes. I got a little piece of it over here. I'll take it. Fun weekend. And then afterwards, where we party, this is where we party, Pauly. If you ever see me look like this, all not shaved and gross, and I could throw up right now, but the show must go on. This is where we partied, at the frickin' Rio. We partied at the Rio, man. It was a lot of fun, but it was like, 2 in the morning. I wasn't driving home last night. Last night was an Uber. We got to go back and pick up the car later. But epic weekend, a lot of fun. And both of us cashed, including one of us for 36 grand. So it was a lot of fun. And one of those weekends you'll remember. World Series of Poker senior event, 2018. And lots of love out there in Twitterland. I really appreciate all the love that you guys were giving me. I was posting some updates, and I was amazed at how many people were paying attention to just a little run that I had. Hopefully someday we'll have a bigger run than the one we just did.
All right. Son of a bitch made a move on Chan. How about it? There you go. That leads to shot clock, the most hungover you ever were on air. Oh, boy. You remember this? I went out with Tony Miller
I
at the
said,
Golden Nugget. Oh,
I
I
do.
can't do this. I can't do this in 20 seconds. Tony Miller's a big fella. He is a big fella. And I thought I'm a lightweight, and I'm like, all right, I'll do a couple of shots with him. The first time I went out with him, I woke up. I didn't know where I was. I was puking. I had to go on air with you. I don't know how I made it. I think I was still half in the bag. I shouldn't say SBR. Oh my God. But I call him the next day. I go, what do we do? 3, 4 shots? He says 9. 9. I'm 180 pounds. He's like the guy's an ice cube. I can't believe it. What a disaster that was. I don't know how I got through that show, and you could tell I was slurring and stuttering and mumbling idiot while I was doing the show that particular day. I don't know how I got through it.
That was a truly hilarious show to do with you, Paul. Again, you are a genuine professional. I've never seen you. For you to be able to do that show that day or that night was insane for me, because there was no way I could have done it. But and it never happens to you. You're never like that. When you talk about we all have lives,
No.
a crazy thing happens. That's the only time I've ever seen that. And that's why I'm like, you got to talk about this, because it was hilarious. Yeah, you were slurring a little bit. No question about it. What's the most hungover I ever were on air? You can make an argument for today. There's one other show I remember that I did over at Covers.com back in the day, and I had to go on air literally, I think 30 minutes after I found out that my business partner had absconded with a significant sum of money. Significant. And it was like, all right, you just found out the worst financial news that you ever had in your adult life, and go on air right now. And that was not a pretty day either. So it happens. But I'll tell you what, I feel pretty rough today. You can't smell the hangover. It's here. If you can picture it in your mind. I got the hangover skin right now. It's not pretty, Pauly. Not even a little bit.
Tough one. That's a bad beat. That was a vicious beat you took there back in the day. Condolences on that one. And also, you got to go to the strip club when you had a big score like that. Blow it out, hangover style. Let's go. Money time. Play of the day. Betting number 955. Dodgers minus 115. Anti-Chatwood. Could be a high-scoring affair as well. Take the Dodgers minus 115. Keep it going here with the play of the day here on SportsBit. Tomorrow, little soccer. Russia and Egypt. We'll touch on the Minnesota Vikings and all those streaks in Major League Baseball to go over. And boy, it's going to be tough for the books. The Astros are laying $3 today. They've won 11 in a row. And that prop can cash tonight. Longest winning streak in some places was under 11 and a half. Astros can get there if they can win it. That's on the line tonight, too. So, all right, we'll be back live tomorrow. Thanks to the crew. Thanks to the staff. SportsBit, Betting Insight today, SBRpicks.com. I'm at Real SportsBit. He's at Teddy_Covers. Talk to you Tuesday.